Hi, I'm Frida Liu, and you're watching The Shift to Asia. More than bio-waste management, Entomal focuses on regeneration and circular economy, inspired by natural systems that are committed to utilize the nutrient recycling capacity of the Black Soldier Fly Larvae to create a sustainable environment. Entomal is a multi-award-winning and global top 50 deep tech startup, and also a nominee for the EY Entrepreneur of the Year award that's in the emerging category. And I'm here with co-founder Yanni XinYan Ching. Yanni, I heard you speak recently at the She Tech Asia Forum in Kuching, my hometown, about how Clang inspired you to do this. Can you share that story again?
Yes, absolutely. So my dad comes from Klang, and I grew up in Klang as well, went to school in Klang. But usually for Malaysians, especially as a foodie, from time to time, we will go to Bagan Hailam. That's where my dad's hometown is for seafood, because it's by the seaside. But after hearing my dad's story of how this was his hometown growing up, and then looking at what exactly it looks like now, it made me realize, because what we saw is what used to be a house land has turned into a dump site. People have abandoned it, and then we turn it into places that we dump all kinds of plastics and all kinds of waste. And then it made me realize we're generating so much waste. It really disgusted me, not because of how dirty it looks, but it made me realize how selfish humans have been in the name of civilization. So at that time, even since young, I was thinking about, hey, where exactly does all the garbage that we throw go to? At that time, when I was still young, I didn't know about landfill, but much younger. As a kid. Right. Before still imagine all these kind of things. And then I realized, after digging all these different statistics, we realized that almost half the waste that we dump into landfill are actually organic waste or bio waste, or basically all the food waste that we don't consume. And then that's also kind of me, how it inspired me to work towards something that creates that circular economy. How can we utilize the waste better, or turn it into resources that we can use again? Okay, so how did you discover this, the fly? Yeah, how did you discover that? So I studied abroad. When I came back in 2018, that's the time when I met my co-founders. And I was living a very low-waste lifestyle. I was doing composting at home. And at that time, Thomas, my co-founder, was like, hey, we have this insects. You want to try doing composting with it? So at that time, as a girl, usually hearing insects, we're like, eee, so disgusting. I don't want to touch it. But somehow, somewhere, that calling really came to me. And then we started venturing into, especially during COVID, when we had the time, the opportunity to join 𝗙𝗍𝗄𝗏 Accelerator program. Thomas was like, would you want to be part of us? Like, we need someone who can just represent us and help us to gather that experience with storytelling, sharing what we do. So I was like, okay, since it's COVID, I was quite free. I started being part of Entomal, and that was the time when we really kind of thought of the waste management business model. And that's kind of how things started back then. Okay, yes. And how much food are we wasting in Malaysia right now? Yeah, so based on the most current report that comes from SW Corp Malaysia, we are generating close to 12,000 tons of food waste every single day, and then we dump it to landfill. So that we also see that each ton of food waste dumped to landfill will generate 2.5 tons of carbon emission. So when we look at all these statistics, we realize that food waste is actually 3 times the carbon emission of the global aviation industry. Wow. And if we put food waste as a whole, as a country, it would actually be the 3rd largest emission contributor, right after US and China. So we know that food waste is actually contributing to so much damage, especially when we talk about carbon emission. Right. And we always think it's just aviation, but when really this is something that we can control and do something about as well, right? And what are the challenges in setting up something like this, your business? Yeah. So I think at first, especially talking about insects, people are not aware of it. People, first of all, get intrigued by it, like why larvae, like why insects? But also at the same time, not a lot of people know about the role that it plays in our kind of ecosystem. Because Black Soldier Fly has been known as the nature's best cleaner. In the forest, they exist already in Malaysia and around the world. What they do, usually they will lay eggs in rotten fruits or vegetables or even dead bodies, where it helps to kind of decay whatever organic waste that is. So, and a lot of times we are kind of oblivious of the nature's good things.
Yeah.
So over the years, there have been a lot of research that look into the utilization of black soldier flies.
Right.
And also a lot of different business models have come up over the years around the world as well. So something that we are kind of really trying to harness right now is utilizing that natural power of black soldier fly to then do good for our society, especially in the name of ESG, sustainability, with the trend coming. That's where we see the opportunity.
So obviously, a lot of yours is from food waste. Do you have a challenge getting hold of food waste, or no problem at all, because we really have so much, right? I mean, I'm just asking this question in the context of the circular economy as well.
Yeah. So food waste, how we define it, there's the food loss, which usually happens during the agriculture production. There's a pre-consumption food waste, which usually happens during the preparation. There's also food waste where we have consumed, but we couldn't finish, and it goes to landfill.
Right.
So in terms of the abundance of it, we really see the fact that where there is human, there is food waste. But coming back to Malaysia, especially with food waste, especially with our waste segregation practices now, we don't see it existingly happening in our households or even in big kind of hospitality sectors. But that's where we see the opportunity. And after looking at all these different statistics, we realize that it's the hospitality sector that's contributing to most of the food waste that we dump to landfill. And we know that with different kind of private sectors, there are SOPs that we can implement. So which also leads to us working with some of the private sectors coming from theme parks that we know of in Malaysia, very famous, and Sunway Lagoon. We are working with Le Méridien Hotel in PJ.
Right.
We're also working with Taylor's University, MBSA, and a few more. With IJM Land, we're working with OSIS International School. These are private sectors where SOPs can be implemented. And very directly, when we work with kitchen, it's actually very easy to do waste segregation. So if we can do it at source, that's where we can solve the problem at the very beginning.
Yeah, and I can see these are more on a commercial scale, but in terms of the home part, we still haven't worked this out just yet.
Yeah.
Okay, what are there alternatives out there for bio-waste management other than black soldier fly, and why do you think this is the best option?
Yeah. So currently, people would have started to realize the use of biodigesters at home or even on a larger scale. We have incinerators, we have waste-to-energy plants as well. So usually when we compare the efficiency, the durability, the carbon emission, we do see that, especially when we are harnessing something that's completely natural, we tend to utilize less electricity in that context. And because of that, we are also utilizing or generating less carbon emission.
Right.
And in terms of efficiency, this can basically convert food waste in the span of just 7 days.
Okay.
So with that, we see there are durability that basically comes from the black soldier fly, the environmental impact, the sustainability, environmental impact, and then in terms of the scalability as well.
Okay.
So there will be challenges, especially as compared to other methods when it comes to scalability.
Right.
But I think that's also where our technology has to come in to empower that when it comes to scaling up.
Right. What about biodigestives? You mentioned that. Is that a workable option on a commercial scale?
Yes, there are. So we've seen some big shopping malls in Malaysia that have started using it. But I think especially looking on a national scale or even on a global scale, if we really want to do it fast and we really want to do it in a very environmentally friendly way that uses less electricity, I think black soldier fly larvae will definitely stand out.
Okay, I've been dying to. Now I'm just going to go through this, right? What are the products that you have at the moment? So we've got here. Wait, in case you can see, this is I'm sure we'll be able to see this.
Yes.
But this is the raw stuff, and I had it as a snack earlier on just now.
Yes.
The worms. No, the larva. So this is shrimp feed.
Yeah.
So this shrimp feed. This is, you were saying, for cat food.
Yeah.
Okay, right. And
we also made chicken feed as well as fish feed. So basically looking at serving the poultry industry, aquaculture industry, even swine, and also when it comes to pet food as well.
What's defatted meal?
So defatted meal is what we do when we cold pressed the larvae, and basically pressed out the oil. So the dried larvae then becomes
defatted
yes,
oil,
defatted.
which can be used for
the different feed formulation.
I see.
Yes.
For the
Yes.
and then the oil can be used for
so there are this substance called antimicrobial-peptides, and because Black Soldier Fly Larvae oil contains very high antioxidants, so with our preliminary studies, we can see that there are utilization of the oil when it comes to pharmaceutical products. So maybe in the use case of saying wound healing cream, acne healing cream, or even for some pets when there's wound, we can use it for eczema kind of conditions as well.
Okay, so there are a lot of these things right now. Apart, are we ready for human consumption?
So I think in Malaysia's case, yes and no. And because previously in the past 2 years, we have been traveling a lot around the world, bringing some of our samples to get people to try it as well. So I think Malaysia, Singapore, we don't have that direct instinct of buying it as a snack just yet. But we know in Sabah Sarawak, there are people who consume the
Sago worms.
Yes,
yeah.
sago worms,
Yeah.
yes. And quite surprisingly, when I brought our 𝗬𝗶 cookies to Japan this year in May, people were very excited about it. And in Japan, people are eating crickets as well.
Yeah.
And we know that in South America, people also have consumption of insects kind of culture. In South Africa, people also have that
Well,
kind
even
of
in
culture.
Thailand, right?
Yes,
even in
exactly.
Thailand, right? So just our neighbors. So you're saying what cookie? You did cookies with it,
Yeah.
and I know that you work with universities.
Yeah, University.
To come up with this.
So with university, there are multiple products that they've come up with. This is led by the Impact Lab director, Dr. Chong. So under her leadership, students have come up with basically protein bar, which is super high in protein.
Right.
Per bar, it contains about 66 grams of protein, which is basically equivalent to 3 meals protein that we require in a day. So we have the idea of basically utilizing this protein bar, maybe working with different NGO organizations to empower or help people in disastrous areas. We are also looking at chips made with the larvae. We have meat jerky made with the larvae.
Bakwa.
Yes. We also have cookies, bread, all kinds of different products made with the
protein powder.
Protein powder, exactly.
Right. Okay. Now, in your opinion, what do we need to do collectively, right? From individuals to government, that we move towards a circular economy, or a little bit more about this? Because great, this is a private sector and you're able to work with certain private bodies as well. And there is will on both sides to make a difference. What do you think? What more do you think we can do?
Yeah, absolutely. I think for us, we are working very closely, not just with private sectors, but also on the governmental side as well. But we know that in general, for the entire nation to start doing complete waste segregation, it will take time. We have learned from Korea, Japan, that it has taken them 10, 15 years to really educate the entire generation when it comes to waste segregation. So I think there are footsteps for us to go towards that direction, but we must start somewhere. So private sector is where we have started now, and it helps us to run as a business. But also at the same time, what government is really seeing right now is quite recently, Malaysia has come up with a blueprint for circular economy, basically trying to look at how we can divert waste from landfill, trying to create a more circular economy within Malaysia. So Entomal has luckily been chosen as one of the contributor into that topic. So ultimately, as we scale up, we do want to see landfill maybe working collaboratively with solutions like us to basically divert whatever organic waste and turn it into resources that we can actually help with the food security in Malaysia. So these are on a higher level, but I think at the same time, we are running a lot of workshops in terms of awareness programs, not just in schools, primary school, secondary school, universities, but also going into corporates, having that sustainability team within that corporate to have this awareness, because at the end of the day, these are the people who can start spending on sustainable solutions. So having these awareness in more and more of the decision makers will help to empower the entire generation when it comes to being more sustainable in our waste segregation practices.
All the best and all the exciting stuff that's coming up from the lava. I was speaking to Yanni from Entomal, and you've been listening to The Shift Asia.